Another question Nick had was, are there character classes, archetypes, occupations, or is the system completely classless? So the system is designed to be classless. However, there are a few little quirks in there. The best way to explain this is a little bit into the setting, and that is, it is a far future type setting. It is in our real world, so there isn't elves, dwarves, and all those other weird creatures and stuff like that. There's humans. There are some other species or creatures in the world due to what's going on. More on that later. But for the players themselves and the basic concept of what the characters have going on, let me bring up the little pad here. It's called the stereotype. And when a player comes in and they start to set up their character, they always pick a stereotype. And there's 4 options in this. There's regulars, which are your regular human beings, your regular Joe Schmoes working the streets and doing whatever they do. There's the modern Prometheus. This is a non-human creature, such as an advanced AI robot. It could be a sentient, very intelligent gorilla, things like that. Some sort of Prometheus-type creature that isn't human, but it has a human aspect to it, a consciousness, intelligence, so forth. There's cyber junkies. They are humans. However, they are just completely decked out and addicted to cyberware. They might have nanotechnology. They might have cybernetic arms or legs or body parts. They might be integrated with weaponry, things like that. They're just addicted to cybernetics and mechanical type aspects to themselves and keep getting more and more type of things. And then there's GWs, also known as the genetically warped. These are the people that are trying to break free from a curse that has basically been brought down on the humans, which causes them to never fully die. Their body will die or whatever, but when they're reborn again through that same person, the same body with a different intelligence and a different consciousness. Again, that's something will be delved into later. But in order to break free from this constant cycle of some sort of warped immortality, people begin to genetically warp their DNA and their genetics and try to become somebody else in the hopes that if they die, they won't come back again as the same person. And those are called GWs, and they're kind of like your typical, like a mutant, human mutants. They're not, as in not like the Ninja Turtles and stuff like that, but more, they might have increased strength, adrenal glands, or extra muscles, or they're just genetically warped somehow in different ways. So those are your 4 stereotypes. Each stereotype you pick when you start creating your character, and they'll give you a few different abilities or aspects, talents for your character. They're sort of like a race when you pick it out. So the modern Prometheus, just as an example, you start out with less humanity than everybody else because you are not human. So it gives you a big knock against your humanity in this game. However, as you evolve and as you move through the levels and you start working with your team and your other friends and people that are human, be them cyber junkies, genetically warps, or regulars, you gain humanity back and you become more human as you try to find your fit, your role within this world. So that's just a simple example for you. Outside of that, everything else is completely classless. There's professions, and with that, I'll have a list of about 50 in the book, but players, GMs are completely open to creating their own, whatever works for their game that they have in mind. But a profession acts as the skill system in this game. So, for example, if you are a mountain climber, that's maybe a profession that you had or something that you're good at, a hobby, whatever the case might be. Whenever you do something in the game, if you can tie that profession to what it is you're doing. So if you're climbing up a wall of the side of a building, you can say, hey, I'm a mountain climber. I'm good at climbing, obviously. So that's how I'm going to do it with climbing up the side of this building. Then the GM will give you a bonus die to your roll. So instead of rolling a 1d20 and trying to get whatever the target or under is, you would roll 2d20 and get underneath the roll or whatever the case might be. So there is no actual skill system. You don't ever pick skills out, but you pick professions, and you can use those professions to influence your roles as skills. There are no kind of archetypes or anything. The other part that comes into play on this are called talents. Every level, beginning at first level up through 10th. The core game is only going to go up to 10th level because at that point you're pretty strong anyway. But at every point through that, you get a talent at every level. A talent is set up sort of in a branching tree type system. Okay, so every branch will have, as they're called, steps. So every talent step has 5 steps to it, or tier, or yeah, every talent tier has 5 steps to it. So, do I have an example? Let me see. I do have a couple examples here. All right, so the agility of a cat. Say at level 1, you would take step 1 of a talent, and you decide you want your character to be very agile and stealthy type person. So you pick this talent step, or this talent tier. It's called agility of a cat. Okay, step 1. That's the first level one. You can re-roll a failed agility roll. You can use that a number of times each day, equal to the number of steps you have in this tier. Every tier goes up to 5 steps. In order to gain the step 2, in this case, you gain a +1 attribute bonus to your agility. You have to have the rank, or the step 1. In order to get step 3, you have to have 2 and 1. So you have to take each step one at a time. So in order to have all 5 steps of this, you would have to be level 5 in order to have the step 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 down the line. You do not have to stick within a tier when you build your character. You might choose this one. Then there's another one called double-handed that lets you use 2 weapon fighting, basically. You might take the step 1 in that. And you might take step 1 in a different one, and step 1 in another. Then you have 4 different talent trees, or talent tiers, that you can use to start piling together and building your character. Or you can just follow those tiers down through the steps. Each step gets a little bit more powerful as you go, but that's because you have to have the ones before it in order to get it. So it's completely the player's choice on if they just want to branch off in all different directions and get a little bit of everything, or if they want to focus on one thing, in this case, like agility. So rank 3, they get them -1 to the dodge bonus. Rank 4, they get, so when they make rolls, it's 1 tier easier than required. And for step 5, you gain a bonus die whenever they make an agility check. So it gets stronger and stronger each time. And those things build on one another. So in that sense, it's a completely classless system. Players are encouraged to build their character based upon whatever professions they want and whatever talents they want them to have. And they can pretty much come up with any sort of conglomeration from there. The core book, I'm aiming to have 25 talent trees in there. It might fluctuate a little bit depending on where I'm at in the ending. Right now, I think I have 18. But it's actually sort of a little bit difficult thing trying to give each one its own flavor without crossing bounds and having some mimic others. So, yeah, I'm hoping to have about 25 in the core book.